I haven't had my muffin yet, Matt. YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers FigZero Green Power Rangers Let Them Matt Cook Edition. If you don't know, this is the new Green Ranger from the Boom Comics universe. This is Matt, who took up the mantle after Tommy left, after Grace, the original MMPR Green Ranger, or MMPR Red Ranger, resurrected the powers with Billy. And honestly, he became one of my favorite characters in the comics. Started out as an underwhelming choice, but wound up being pretty cool. So anyway, that's enough about that. This isn't a review of his character, although that will be afterwards. We'll see if he gets fired. Anyway, so it's been a while since I covered one of these. I usually like to keep them uncovered so you can see them. But the last time that I reviewed them, I did the White Ranger and I did Draken. And I was a little bit less than impressed with them. I have to say my opinions changed a little bit. I thought they were overall pretty cool, but they felt a little bit cheap and didn't look as good as I wanted them to, especially White Ranger in some instances for the price. But I think this one is a little bit of an improvement. Honestly, I think in general, these have been showing to improve in terms of the way they look. This is the first one I have in hand since I reviewed those, but just looking at when they put out pictures for like Zeo, and then Turbo just recently got announced as I was recording this, and they all look really good. They look far more accurate than the MMPR ones did. I mean, White looked pretty good, Draken looked pretty good, but the Core 5, in my opinion, I don't have them, I don't own them. So I can't speak to how accurate they feel in person, but their helmets all looked off. And with this, I'm looking for something that actually looks like the show for $100 or more. And so I just didn't pull the trigger on those. But the new ones have looked a lot better. And I actually was planning on reviewing Zeo Ranger 5 as my first review, going back into these. But I pre-ordered it on Amazon, and they did that thing where they're like, hey, this is going to be late. So do you still want it? And if you don't reply right away, then we're going to cancel your order and your life, and you'll never be able to buy here again. And it's like, that seems reasonable, Amazon. I don't know why they do that, everything's time sensitive. Yes, I still want that thing I ordered. Anyway, I was like, yes, of course I still want it, so I'll wait for the delay. And then a week later, they're like, we don't got it. Anyway, short story, very long, this wound up being the first one I'm reviewing. Because it was limited, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it because I do already have the Matt Cook statue, which I'm actually going to pull in for a bit of a comparison here in a minute. But since it was limited and I do like his design so much, I felt like I would regret it if I didn't get it. So let's take a look at it and stop talking about random useless stuff. So I have to say it looks pretty good. I would say, to get my complaints out of the way, you do have a little bit of that feel of those old school kind of larger figures that were kind of like, I don't want to say Barbies, but there were figures in the 90s you'd get that have that cloth feel, and it doesn't feel quite as professional as some of the other type of Hot Toys things you see. So it feels like a cross between something more expensive like a high-end collectible and kind of those old Barbie things where you can kind of feel the clothes aspect and it looks a little cheap. You can feel that a little bit, but for the price, it's not that big of a deal. And the joints on these are still a little bit weird. They have that weird click that's slightly strange with it. And I don't like the way that the belt looks here. That is the way it's designed, and you'll see that on the statue, or if you look it up, just the comics or whatever. But just the way that the belt doesn't connect here just looks so strange, especially since they don't line up. But that's kind of more of an issue of that design choice not translating 100% into the figure. But other than that, I have to say, maybe I need to pull down my other figures, but this doesn't feel that cheap to me. I'm sure that the $200-300 Hot Toys type of things will feel a little bit more expensive, worth your money, but this doesn't feel really cheap at all. All the joints feel really good. You have that weird joint I was just talking about, but they don't feel loose or anything. They feel overall very solid. You get a pretty good range of motion. It's a little bit hindered by the cloth, and then of course this bit here, but you still get a pretty solid range of motion overall with these. And again, it's going to hinder it down here a little bit, and the knee is going to look a little bit strange. That's definitely one of the little drawbacks as well. But for me, I'm just just don't pose it like that. For these, I can't ever imagine posing them in something like a crazy, ridiculous, crouching pose. That looks like, oh my god, dude, go to the hospital, man. But otherwise, the joints feel really solid, and just the feel of it feels solid. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is pretty cheap for $100. And I have to say, it looks really good as well. I think the helmet looks really nice. It's got a really nice gloss and sheen to it, from Jimmy Neutron. The gold stripes look really good. And it looks a lot more accurate, in my opinion, than the ones we got for the first releases. Now, again, I don't own it, and there's a chance that when you get it in person, it looks better, or those are prototype images, but just the feel of it, even without the green stripes, it looks more accurate to the symmetry of the regular Green Ranger helmet. And it looks a little different here here you can see, here's the statue character, and it is missing that weird dragon spirit that follows him. That's kind of a red flag. But you can see like this one's more stylized, so I like the difference, because at first I was thinking the stripes don't feel like they're as pointy as in the comic, but I think that's the point, is like here, this is much more accurate to the comic, and you can see it doesn't have the green chaos piping, but this is much more accurate to the comic, a little bit stylized, whereas this is kind of like, what if it looked like it did in live action? And so I actually really like that, because at first I was a little disappointed, but I'm like, actually this is cool because it really translates well. And again, I think that this helmet just looks a little bit better. I'll put up a picture at some point than what the Green Ranger one looked like in pictures. I think that the golden armor looks really nice. It's not too overly shiny or chrome or anything, but you can just see from the camera it's shining off the light really well. You know, some of the cloth pieces look a little bit cheaper, but I think that the paint and the colors all look really nice. I think that the blue gimmicky chaos energy stuff does look a little bit cheap to me, in my opinion. It's not like the thing that drew me to it most. It was kind of nice to have a difference, but having it in person, I think more of the draw is having like, hey, what if it was a live action Matt Cook? But yeah, it's all very well detailed. You can even see the little lettering on there. So yeah, I'm really happy with it look-wise. I think it looks really great, and I don't have that same cheap feel. Like really my only complaints are, again, it feels like a cross between kind of like an old Barbie figure and an expensive figure, and you do get a little bit of that weird knee stuff there, but that's almost really hard to avoid, and it's not a huge deal. Like that wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. Obviously it wasn't, because I just bought it, but you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna display it in a way that they're standing mostly upright. Now you do have a pretty good amount of accessories. You can see here you have the dragon dagger, and it is not bent by mistake. That's actually the way it looks. It's a slightly different version created by Grace, and it's very well detailed. Very much feels like a blown up figure arts type weapon in terms of the level of detail. The paint looks really good. He also includes, was it the Sword of Darkness? Is that what it's called? I think it's Sword of Darkness. It's gonna be called that, even if it's not. It was really funny, because when I opened this, I'm like, does he include the Sword of Darkness? And then I was like, did he even use that in the comic? Although, was Phoebe there? But I don't remember if he used it in the comic or not, but I do think it's nice. You get a little bit of an extra accessory there. You also have a series of different hands. When you go on him, you do have closed fists, open relaxed fists, which is one of the ones I have on him now. You have playing the flute fists. One thing I really like about this is it's easy to switch out the hands. Like sometimes they're a little bit loose, so like if you're trying to finagle a weapon into it, it might pop out easy, but it's not like super loose, but it's like a minor complaint there. But for the most part, I'm happier with it being easier to switch out. There's been several figures recently, like from Marvel Legends and a couple horror NECAs that I had, where I was trying to switch out the hands, and it feels like you're gonna break it, and it's either pushing really hard or pulling really hard, and all these different innuendos, but it's just really a struggle, and it's not only annoying to deal with, but you feel like you're gonna break it. And I like how easy breezy, beautiful CoverGirl it is to just swap these out, which is really nice. And also another nice thing is it's really easy to put the weapons in the hands too. Like the fists are made of this really nice plastic that is really soft, so you can just open it up and then rip his hand off and then put the weapon in. But you can just open it up and put it in there. God, this has a lot of innuendos in it. I didn't even intend to do that. But yeah, so as you can see, sometimes it can come off a little easy, but it's not too difficult. But it's not too bad. But I do really prefer that. Like especially, I really have to give credit to that. Like swapping out the hands is nice, but I love the plastic this is made of that makes it so easy to put the sword in his hand. I just can't stop. Because again, that's another thing that I'll struggle with some figures, where like the plastic for the holding the weapon hand is like so stiff, and like you can't get the weapon there, and then you're trying to like pry the hand open, and then either it's impossible or you're doing it so much that then you start to see it like crack. And so I have to say that's actually a really nice little quality of life thing I didn't expect to be such a positive. Is his other hand fell off here. I just realized that. That's hilarious. I was just sitting here talking up a storm. But let's put that back on. But yeah, overall, I have to say I'm pretty pleased with this thing. I don't know if maybe they changed the quality of it and it feels better, if I'm just in a different mood or more receptive, but I have to say I do recommend checking these out if you like these. You know, whether you get Matt or not is up to you, whether you like Matt the Radar Technician or Matt Cook. I do think if you like the Matt character and you like this design, I think you'll be happy with this, but I'll have to check some other ones out. I do plan on getting Zeo Ranger 5. There's a couple other places that have it still available for order. I honestly thought it came out already, but it says pre-order everywhere. But I do plan on checking out a couple more, but just having seen this and having seen like the way the other ones look, I think that it's worth a shot, because they are pricier, obviously, than something like a Lightning Collection or a basic figure, but it's also a lot more reasonably priced than a lot of similar type of toys like Hot Toys or like the Project BM's Riders. They're like $200-300. So I think if you find your favorite character, it's worth checking out, and I'm definitely looking forward to checking out Zeo. I don't think I'm going to get Turbo. I'm tempted because they do look pretty good, but if they do in space, I'm going to be right there. But anyways, guys, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.